grew up at Victoria Park in Ellesmere, but I moved to Oshawa. He's like, oh, you look like someone I know from like Jane and Finch area. And Jane and Finch area is like, quote unquote, the bad area here. And I'm like, no, that wasn't me, brother. I don't know. He's like, yeah, you, and there's another black dude there, Deshay, he's beside me. He's like, yeah, you both look like someone I know. You guys both look the same. And in my mind, I'm like, this guy came in and I won $100 from him right away. He's a very poor player. He's tons of
fucking idiot.
Yeah. And I saw Rob's face, the host, and his leg is shaking. He's pissed.
Oh, right.
He's like, Indian dude brought him. I'm like, you bring this guy to my house. And he's insulting my friends.
Yeah.
And furthermore, they're my guest. I never want to see this guy here again, man. That's a really bad look on you. I don't know if I want you around anymore. Like, who's the company you keep? You bring this dude around. In my brain, I'm like, he apologized to me after Rob, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like, I wanted him to stay and keep staying till the end of the night. But I wanted to invite him next week. He's like, no, he's not coming again. I'm like, dude, that shit. Like, Shane was upset, and I'm like, I grew up in Oshawa, man. This shit doesn't offend me.
Yeah.
This is like a Wednesday. That kind of stuff is like, so under the surface, it's like whatever. It's like when people like make jokes about the genitalia of black dudes, or like running on island time and all this bullshit. Like, I'm like, it doesn't offend me. It's like whatever. It's a joke. It's like, but now people such outrage over these things that are pretty like rudimentary. Like, I don't.
Tom, have you met Simon, his brother's partner?
No.
Natasha?
No.
So Natasha is like this, like...
That's the older brother, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're both very, like, NDP, fucking left-leaning, like, East End through and through people. Like, they prototypical East End couple, you know? Like, just, like, NDP voting, very, like, pro-union, like, very pro what you say is what's right bullshit.
Yeah.
So I guess like Tom was having a conversation with her the other day, and like she gets quite like testy when it comes to like things that question that like ideal. Mm-hmm. Where like, you know what, is it wrong to make a joke about a black guy's dick size? Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably inappropriate. But does that mean that people aren't saying it or not thinking it?
Yeah.
So isn't it okay to at least have that dialogue about the fact that people are still having that conversation? Mm-hmm. Don't fucking pretend like it's not fucking happening.
Yeah.
So along those lines, like she was having a conversation with Tom about like how marginalized groups, when it comes to vaccinations, should be like excused, something along those lines. And Tom was like, why? And she's like, well, because they've been submerged by like political turmoil fucking long enough.
Yeah.
And then Tom was like, yeah, but like, I thought we were moving towards a place where like those kind of things
aren't
taboo.
Yeah.
Like, you know, move beyond it. And then she just like fucking went off about like, now suddenly Tom's a fucking racist. And like, and he was like, it wasn't even my opinion. He's like, I don't really, A, he doesn't give a fuck.
No.
And B,
I appreciate about him too.
Yeah, like it wasn't really about his opinion on why people are getting vaccinated or not. It was just merely the fact that like, why can't you talk about it?
Yeah.
Why is it that like, yeah, statistically like a new immigrant Indian family is statistically way less likely to get vaccinated than like white family in fucking Forest Hill. Yeah.
Grew up here.
It's a thing. So why can't you be like, why do you have this idea where he's like, for her it's okay to be horribly judgmental to a friend of hers that chooses not to be vaccinated, but completely excuses a new Indian family in Canada that just chooses not to be vaccinated?
That's a strange nugget. That little nugget is added with her being upset with her friend not doing it.
Like I'm putting words in her mouth because I don't know if this is true or not. But like, again, you're creating this person, and this person is the one that like my fucking aunt.
Yeah.
Same bullshit. Like invites everybody to fucking Aurelia for Christmas, and she asks if everybody can take a COVID test before they come. I mean, don't fucking invite me. Don't invite me. Like, you want this blanket of safety?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Life doesn't work that way.
Yeah, true.
So,
there's no security.
I'm like, I'm not fucking going, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with this shit. But it's the same fucking
mentality.
Where like you can control me, but no, a marginalized group, you shh.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't make you a racist to just like have a thorough conversation about it.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to have a fucking opinion about it.
Yeah.
Just to acknowledge that this is a truth.
And it's happening.
And it's happening.
Yeah.
Where like you have the same amount of right to not be judgmental towards them as you do to not be judgmental towards your friend that chooses not to be vaccinated. But in your fucking fucked up mind, it's totally okay to be a fucking cunt to your best friend and not invite them or just treat them like fucking shit or treat them like you're fucking superior to them. But then like you pretend to be all nice to these people you don't fucking know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's mighty hypocritical. And it's funny, because even that thought process of exempting these people who just come over here is also a form of segregation, no? Because like you're saying that they don't have to, so because of who they are.
Yeah.
That's kind of ridiculous. But I believe like live and let live. I don't really care personally. I think it's so funny how people are so polarized about that shit.
It's and I just love like it's not even just this is just an example.
Yeah.
Like, but there's so many fucking things that people are just like these double standards where I'm like you're watching it and you're like do you not today, dude? Like I just like I wanted to fucking laugh. I'm at the gym.
Yeah.
They open the fucking steam room again. So like I'm in the fucking steam room after my workout, just like chilling, and a dude comes in wearing a mask, comes into the fucking steam room, takes his mask off, and fucking sits down with like 4 other people in there. And I'm like, my dude, that has to be the stupidest thing you've done today. And if it's not, you've done some pretty stupid shit today.
Illogical.
It makes
0 sense.
0.
Yeah, I don't get it, man.
It's just eyes.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just what you're supposed to do.
Optics, man.
Like, fuck me.
Yeah.
Like, that just seems exhausting.
Yeah. And if that's the way things are going to be going in the future, it's like, fuck. Get me somewhere where that's not going on, man.
But there's no way it can't. Like, with this, like, social media and, like, accountability to everything you do online, it's like, you have no time off, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's constant. And, like, it's self-imposed constant. So, like, you know, you go out to a fucking restaurant and, like, with your phone, like, you're constantly connected to this world and you're actively videotaping it and participating in it.
Yeah.
You could choose not to.
Yeah.
But instead you actively participate in this world that like doesn't give you a second to not be judged by others. So it's literally better in these fucking people's minds to go out with a fucking mask on and do your stupid Instagram story, put your phone down, take your mask off and go to the fucking steam room.
It's all optics, man. It's all optics. I noticed that early on. We talked about it early on. It's very perplexing to me, man. And you're right, with the proliferation of all the technology, there's no going back. Like I said, I watched that TV show, Voyeur, on Netflix. Yeah. And to see how the world was in the 70s, these girls going to like the next town over to go watch a film that they buy tickets for. There's no online purchasing, there's no cell phones. Like, it almost seems so genuine. And you look at like, I with everything that's going on now, I appreciate the fact that I was born in the year I was, and I've been able to see such a change in the way things have shifted from the 80s to the 90s, 2000s, and now here. It's like I've seen record players and 8 tracks to streaming service. It's crazy.
I watched a stand-up on Netflix that was like really wholesome. It was like this guy, clearly like some kind of Southern American guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if like Tennessee or like one of these like, you know, these states that like you meet these people and like they're so wholesome, dude. Like, it's like bizarre because like the way that, you know, history and like the way they're kind of like portrayed in the media, you have this idea that they all have this like hatred inside of them, and you meet them and they're just like, dude, like just pure, innocent. So this dude doesn't say a single swear word in his stand-up, and his stand-up is so wholesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's not dirty, it's not nasty, it's so like clearly geared towards these like white church-going Southerners. Yeah. And he's fucking funny. Yeah. Like, he's proper funny. Yeah. So I was like watching it thinking I wasn't really gonna like it, and just like literally stumbled upon it. And I was like, I watched the entire skit. and he was good.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the fuck I was going with this guy, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I think that's jokes. Because I find that stand-up comedians, I just watched one recently as well. Guy's name is Mo Amer, and he's a Muslim. And his whole thing is observational comedy.
Yeah.
And he's talking about his whole experience with teenage citizenship and all these different things he has had to do, loopholes and things that happened since 9/11. And then at the end of it, he has like a video montage of what it was like for him to go back to Palestine and be in the sacred ground of where his dad was, and his dad had just passed away. But it's funny how so much is conveyed, and it's so unfiltered with comedy. I think that kind of goes to your point where you saying that everything is pretty much innocent. That's only one of the last pillars of free speech is comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
they're attacking it, dude.
They're attacking it hard.
It's great. Oh, the guy, just to kind of close it out.
Yeah.
He had like a part of the skit was about how he grew up. He was the last generation that grew up without the internet, and he has this whole skit about like how he essentially just like used to be able to just go home and like just like live.
Yeah, yeah.
He has like this like one skit where like he's like saying that his parents, instead of like getting the news from Instagram, used to get the news from like the TV.
Yeah.
And I guess like in the 80s there was this like fear that kids were getting abducted.
Yeah.
So his parents were convinced that the kids were going to get abducted. So they were convinced.
Yeah.
So instead of like being like the kids can't go out because the kids have to go out, instead they would make them. They would take pictures of them with their height, eye color, age in front of like a white screen, just so they had the wanted or the like missing
the milk crate and the milk cart picture missing. Yeah, man, that's crazy. I mean, there was a lot of kids going missing in the 80s. It was bonkers because there's no connection with anybody.
Hilarious.
But yeah, it's crazy that whole shit, man.
I just like the whole thing recently with like attacking these fucking comedians. It's like these people, man.
Yeah.
Like, do they not see what they're doing?
We're gonna live in a bull rap society at some point.
It's also because, again, like with this whole, just because you don't like to hear it doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah.
And like, you get offended at some guy making an observation about something, not even having an opinion on it. Because the majority of the good comedians especially, they don't really tell you what they think about it.
No, they frame it.
Yeah, they frame it. So they let you know how stupid people are without letting you know what their stand is on it. Their stand could be literally the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck, dude? These people are just shining a light on something that's happening, and like these groups are just going after like, you sound like a fucking idiot.
Yeah. It's funny because you see the movie Minority Report?
Yeah, a long time ago.
So like
that was like Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah. Is it valid to arrest someone based on what you think they'll do in the future?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of people that had issues with the Chappelle thing hadn't even watched the sitcom or the stand-up special. And it's like, so you just choose to be outraged because it's the popular thing to do is to be outraged.
Totally.
Yeah.
I watched the stand-up and I didn't think, like, it's not even that, like, I watched it and I was like, I could see why people were offended.
Yeah.
Dude, I couldn't even. I watched it and I was like, this is so vanilla.
Yes. The last one was worse.
It was, like, so polite. It literally was, like, and if anything, like, unfortunately, he had to, like, outward say what his stance was on it.
Yeah.
Because, like, he was just getting bombarded.
Yeah.
And he like had to say what his real feelings are towards like that whole topic. And I was like, what the fuck, man? And then they attacked him for doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, you people are just like,
you want something to be angry about.
It's like there's no winning with you.
Yeah.
There's no winning with a guy that just like made a joke about a transvestite. There's no winning about a guy that continued to make that joke, but then finished the joke saying that the reality is he has absolutely no issues with the marginalized group at all. He used a story in his life to just like circle it all back about how he met somebody within that community, and that somebody within that community had a profound impact in his life, and that he viewed that person as a human being and not as a
whatever
transitioning whatever.
Yeah, category you want to put them in.
What the fuck else do you want?
Yeah. It's bizarre, man. And with that, you're really well read, so I know economy-wise where do you see things going now? This is such a deficit, and life is what it is. Like they're saying, there's looming another lockdown coming, and I'm seeing it gradually within sports. Tottenham, 8 players. Manchester United, 9 players. Chicago Bulls, cancel 2 games. And I mean, for people who already have means, they just became more wealthy during this period, right? Because everything is down. It's the perfect time to buy. But people who are poor are becoming far more. The disparity between the gap is widening at an alarming rate. So what does that mean? Does that mean recession? Like, does that depression? Like, what's going to happen? This is the biggest deficit that Canada's ever had.
Yeah.
And I don't know where we go from here if it's another lockdown. I know people won't stand for it, even people that are pro-government.
You say that, but like, then they do.
Yeah.
Like, I like, I don't know, my view on it, like, I'm not like positional on it, because like, the truth is, like, I just lived my fucking life.
Yeah.
And like, it would take something really big for me to like go out on the street and like vocally protest, or a friend that
Hear me.
Yeah, or a friend that like really stands for something, and I would support them, and I'd be going as a support.
Yeah.
Not really as like me being like, oh, I really like, because like the truth is, I'm just like, they're all fucking idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are, even like with the bar, like when I was like dealing with all these fucking, in Argentina, they have a name for government employees and they call them gnocchis.
Yeah, what's that mean?
Just a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
That just like has this job and does nothing all day. And
that's how they view all government there?
Yeah. Argentina's like,
corrupt, yeah.
It's like
you told me stories.
They're just like, it's a jobs program.
Mm-hmm.
So the government employs like a very high number of people, to do nothing work.
Yeah.
And when people are bored, they just make fucking complicated shit out of simple shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like one thing after another with that. So I don't understand how those same people are the ones that are pushing this fucking policy, and I don't understand how anybody believes that those people are actually going to do it well.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, when have they ever pushed any policy that has worked?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you want to give them the keys to the kingdom? Like, what? Like, they fuck everything they touch, they fuck up.
Yeah.
It's almost like, just let them not fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Because whenever they do something, it's the opposite of what should be done. It's always too late, it's always too little, it's always too much. It's like, all they want to be is reelected.
Yeah.
Like, their only one and only purpose is to be reelected. Mm-hmm. Their purpose is not to help people. Come on. Like, bullshit. Yeah. Somebody tells you, I'm here to help people. It's like, no, buddy, you're here to feed yourself and your family. Yeah. Number one. Number two is you're looking to maybe do a good job at what you do, and maybe satisfying people's needs is part of that. Yeah. But it certainly is not number one. No. Like, fuck that. Like, what are you, some alien? Yeah. Like, everybody else in this world is after their fucking own dinner. Yeah. And all of a sudden you're like this, like, oh no, I do it for the people. Fine.
Yeah. It's very hard. It's very difficult to believe anything. Any kind of a source you get nowadays, it's like, it's almost gotta be double and triple check, because it's like people will just say things for the sake of saying it and having it out there. Yeah. Rather than even fact checking what they're seeing. Even stuff as like proliferated as Instagram or all these other things that people just post these pictures or like completely out of context. Yeah. And like want you to plaster a feeling to it and then reverberate it through all of Instagram sphere. And at a certain point, I just like, man, is anything I'm posting doing anything? And I felt like I felt a little bit of guilt when I like Black History Month came around last year, and I put a different prominent black figure for the whole 28 days. And I actually questioned, like, okay, is this going to make people feel segregated or separate from me, the person they grew up with, because I'm doing this? And I actually had to like come to grips with that. And it's funny because I would have never thought that before all this happened.
It's a celebration.
Yeah, but you're different, man, because you're a person that thinks logically, and it's very curious and very open to things. Yeah. When I describe you, I describe you as a very salty earth person, because you're willing to do. Fuck, I hate this portion of it because I feel like I'm always fixated on promoting you, but like the thing is, definitely, man, you're like, I see you help so many people out, and you don't ever ask for anything in return. And that's a quality that most people don't have. People usually will do things for other people. Maybe if they don't even think I'll get something in return, I think that person owes me. And they think that in the back of their head. And that goes to the point you were saying, well, people taking themselves first. So when you talk to regular people, the regular populace, it's the reason why I love chilling with you guys, like you and the boys. It's like, it's such a decompression of thoughts. Like I can just say what I feel, and I can hang out and be normal, and no one's gonna say anything. You're not gonna be subjugated to anything. No one's gonna look at you any different type of way. It's very, very seldom. In a lot of groups of friends I've had over this whole course of this period, you've seen that everyone's become very polarized. There's no, and I hate the fact other people don't know I say this quite frequently, but there's no discourse, there's no middle ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And before that was something that was regular. It was, you'd always have, you look at both facts and you make an educated decision, right?
I always said, like, with this COVID stuff, could you imagine what it would have been like Canada's Second World War? Where people are like fucking losing their shit about like getting drafted, like the stress level would be even higher.
Yeah.
And then something really funny happened. Anna, my dog walker.
Yeah.
She's so fucking funny. She's a Serb.
Yeah.
And like she came like, she always like comes to the house with me, like talk forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was saying she's got her grandma back in Bosnia.
Yeah.
She was talking to her grandma the other day, and her grandma's just like fucking popping off, being like, this is bullshit, like this is like cruel what they're doing. She's like, this is way worse than the war.
Really?
And she's like, come on, like, grandma, like, you're being ridiculous. She's like, no, I'm not being ridiculous. She's like, in the war, you were allowed to see your friends. You had community.
Yeah.
We were like building something together.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrible and it was disgusting, but here I've spent months alone.
Yeah.
She lived this like fucking 90-year-old grandma is literally telling her that what we think was really bad back then, this shit is worse.
Yeah, man.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. I've never heard anything like that before. But I find like a lot of these protests I see, these protests that go on downtown, it's the same thing. It's like a lot of older people that are going. And it's like, they're like, your rights are so important. And I don't know, man. I don't know where I stand. It's the same thing as being drafted. I oftentimes think about what would happen if I was drafted. Like, what would I do? Where would I go? Would I last? You know, all these things. And no, see you later.
Are you kidding? Like, anybody would be like, I'd stand and fight. Be like, you'd stand and fight for those bozos, those political bozos that literally fuck everything up.
Yeah.
You think that like you standing in line and like representing their ideals of fucking patriotism? Fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, no way.
Patriotism is such a flawed concept because no one really owns the land. These borders, all this stuff is imaginary.
It's propaganda. It's just all fucking propaganda. But like with Spurs like having this COVID outbreak, this is something that like it's not like a wow, like dude, this like virus, everybody's gonna get COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna get it. Just like the whole play has just been like prolonging it long enough that like at least they can control the number of people infected and how quickly.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, if the number of infections in the next couple of weeks like skyrocket and the number of people in the hospital skyrockets, yeah, dude, there's gonna be a lockdown. Like, there's just no doubt. There's no doubt. Because like, my stance on it in Canada has been like, politicians would way rather lock you down than have a fundamental question about whether socialized healthcare works. Because this is a socialized healthcare problem. I'm sorry. And like nobody wants to touch that button because like socialized healthcare has become like such a integral part of what being Canadian means. It's like we are Canadian. We are very proud of the fact that, you know, regardless of your race and income and blah blah blah, you can go to a hospital and have absolute care, which is a lovely, beautiful thing. But it's not to say that it's perfect.
Yeah.
So the Americans, on the other hand, without socialized healthcare, are taking a quite different approach. Yeah. Where they're like, no, your problem.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah. Exactly. You can pay, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Can't pay, man.
Yeah.
So they're having a completely different dialogue there, which I'm not saying that's better. No, I'm just literally stating the fact that like there has not been one single conversation about socialized healthcare and a modification and a change to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how has there not been a conversation about it?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean to change anything, but at least a conversation of saying like, okay, what have we done over the past 20 years that has led to this disaster?
Yeah.
Because it is a disaster. And, you know, what can we do in the next 20 to just like be better positioned?
Yeah.
But instead they're like, no, things are fine.
Yeah.
Don't think about that. Don't talk about it.
Yeah. I would almost hazard a guess that the care you get from a socialized healthcare system was it privatized in the States? Is that what they consider, or is it?
Yeah, actually, I don't know how it works state by state.
Yeah, it's different. But the difference between the two is that I feel like people are more apt to bone up on new medical knowledge because it helps increase their pay.
Yeah.
When they have a better accreditation. Whereas here, I feel like people can just lollygag because whatever, you're going to get paid anyways. You're going to see a certain amount of patients anyways. Like.
Yeah, and I think they unfortunately like really do depend on these individuals that are like totally burnt out, totally overworked, totally underpaid.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, like that's not fair either.
Yeah.
Like you have this socialized healthcare, which is great for everybody, but that's not to say that it gives you the right to just like have these people that aren't really driven to their industry.
Yeah.
Like the doctors and the nurses, like, dude, these people work.
Yeah.
And like,
overworked. Yeah.
Like I see it and I'm like, fuck me. Like, thank God you guys are doing this work because I die.
Yeah.
Like I would last a week and then I'd pray collapse in my
Yeah.
house and start crying in the tub by myself. And like, and they're so driven and they do it day in, day out, put their heads down and just work. And like, I don't know, isn't it fair to them to have a conversation about how the system is fucking not working well?
Yeah. Have you ever thought about leaving?
Okay.
Over this time period? Like, maybe going back to Argentina?
No, God, no, I would never go back to Arch.
Or moving somewhere else? Or...
I would like, you know, the moving part is like, it's tricky. Like, you know, you're leaving and then like you're leaving like your whole, your life, like your friends, and like, isn't that really what makes up living? So I think there's like aspects about Toronto that have been like a little bit like getting a little bored of it, aside from COVID.
Yeah.
So like I would definitely entertain the idea of like maybe doing something short term somewhere else.
Yeah.
But the idea of like picking up and just like moving, I'm just like where.
It's gonna be the same. Right?
Yeah, like.
Or variation.
And then on top of that, like so I had British citizenship, right? And I have like Canadian citizenship. So it's like where would I go to the UK? Like every time I go to the UK, I love watching football, but I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I just like don't vibe.
It seems more drab than here.
Yeah, I just don't vibe.
Yeah.
At all. And then like the only place I loved, Australia.
Yeah.
When I went, I was like,
right now. It's crazy. They have internment camps right there.
Man.
It's the most fucked up situation that I've seen out of this whole scenario. It's crazy with the amount of protests and blocking down streets and.
It's nuts.
It's almost like its own movie.
It's a police state.
Yeah.
I noticed when I was there, it was like, and I wasn't there for that long, but like when I was there, they tried to give me a ticket for jaywalking. I'm a grown ass man.
Yeah.
Like I can see the cars coming on the right and I can see cars coming on the left.
Yeah.
I don't need to go 2 blocks to where there's a light that's green, yellow, and red that tells me when it's safe to go.
Yeah.
Like I can figure this one out by myself. Thank you. They tried to give me a fucking ticket for jaywalking. I was like, the cop, he was nice. He was like, yeah, sorry, mate. Like, I'm gonna have to ding you for that. I'm like, for what? And he's like, you jaywalked. And I was like, yeah, I'm 25 years old. I jaywalk every day. Like, every day.
Yeah.
Like, especially like where I lived to where the school was, I literally jaywalked 3 times.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it would just probably double or triple my commute time.
Yeah.
And that's just not the way we do things.
No, it's not very efficient at all.
No. And you're going to put a stop sign in every single spot? No. So then I was like, yeah, man, look, like, I'm not from here.
Yeah.
So, like, I really don't see the point if you give me this ticket.
Yeah.
Like, I'm leaving literally in a month.
Yeah.
Like, and then he was like, yeah, no, I see what you're saying. And like, and I was like, and it's pretty ridiculous. He's like, yeah, no, I understand. He was like very understanding.
Yeah.
So he didn't give me the ticket because I was like, you can give it to me. I'm just not going to pay it.
Yeah. And you're really funny.
Like, if you want to go through this dance, go through the dance.
Yeah.
But so then he kind of caught himself and he was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Off you go.
most people wouldn't have the wherewithal to even say that. They just take the ticket as it is.
It's just, but like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, there's things where it's like okay to give a ticket.
Yeah.
And there's things where like if you're gonna waste police resources giving people for jaywalking, like, my God,
You must be bored.
you're gonna need a lot of police.
Yeah. I think they're learning that now, man. It's bonkers, man. So Australia would have been your destination before.
Yeah, it was just like Australia was like Toronto, but with like good weather.
Yeah.
But then
really, it's that similar.
Yeah, it was like so similar.
Yeah.
But then, like again, that whole thing with like the police, they did give me a ticket. They did give me a ticket for not wearing my helmet riding my bike.
That's crazy, man. That to me is insane. Like those very rudimentary traffic laws that are broken. You shouldn't get tickets for those. It's really stupid.
I just like that's one of the things about COVID in Toronto that I have like. I think the police have just accepted that like they're not here to control what people do day in, day out. Because there was this moment where it was like, okay, like, is the police here to just like be on the street enforcing, like when COVID was like kind of like everybody was freaking their shit, enforcing like mask mandates on people. Like a guy went up to Elise, she was walking Pickle, and the bylaw officer wasn't wearing a mask, and he went up to her because Pickle was on a 30-foot leash, and I guess legally you are not allowed to have a dog on a 30-foot leash. 6 feet is the maximum you can have a dog on a leash.
Yeah.
So this dude, during the middle of the pandemic, went up to her to tell her that she was in the wrong having the dog on a 30-foot leash, and it had to be a 6-foot leash without a mask on.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. And he's like, I'm just gonna give you a warning. And she was like, what the fuck?
That was
She's
here.
like, yeah. She was like, okay, thanks. And then she like came home and couldn't believe it. I would have fucking lost my shit.
I lost my shit as well, man.
Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, COVID, at least the police have come to this agreement with the people of Toronto, who they're meant to protect, not meant to exploit.
Yeah.
Where like we're not here to just enforce every letter of the law with everyone all the time.
Yeah.
We're here to just like serve by the people.
Yeah.
Like not the opposite. And I think it's been a really healthy transition, especially with the whole defund the police movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been. I have noticed that too. It just like I drive every day.
Yeah.
So I just even day to day, I don't get pulled over or anything. I got pulled over once in 4 years.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's like it was bullshit.
Yeah.
She let me go.
Yeah.
She probably looked inside and I've never had a record in my
Right.
life. But the passenger in the back's like, balloon was a cut. I'm like, hey, you said it, not me. But yeah, she made you late for work. I was still profusely apologetic, but it's what they have eased up. Even seeing that, like my experience with the police here is more been overtures. So they've never really bothered me personally.
Yeah,
more so in Durham region. Those
More,
police
right?
are very, very bored. So like, I don't like going to Durham region at all. I mean, I'm surprised so many people move back. Like most all of my friends I grew up with have moved back and they live there. I think there's maybe a handful of us that still live in BC or
Right.
London, whatever. It's just like Durham region is so oppressive, man. It just seems very small. And even now, Maria and I were talking recently about where we'd like to live because she just went to her friend's house who lives in Aurora, and there's such a strong, vibrant community there.
Yeah.
Where people say hello to each other. It's not foreign where it is here. Like to like majority of people won't do that.
Yeah.
The community in the city, in my personal opinion, died with condos. It's like there's no community when you all live in a cinder block,
Yeah.
like a little space confined. Like you see streets like Paul, well, even your old street. What's it called?
Royal Gardens?
No, after that, one after that. The
The
one by the college, Euclid.
Yeah.
Euclid and Palmerston, and there's one in the Danforth Logan.
Yeah.
These are all like strong communities. Even the Junction. You see these communities of people. They're all like it's very. You can see that they're very integrated with what's going on around them. But for the most part, you go places. There's no sense of identity, and I find that in smaller places you have that. So I have two friends that now one lives in Aurora, the other one lives in Blue Mountain. What's that called?
Collingwood.
Collingwood. That's it. they said their quality of life has gone up tremendously since leaving the city. And I hear that from people that come in the car and they move to Prince Edward County and they're only here to visit their family. It's like the city is a drag right now.
Yeah.
The bars aren't the same. Life is not the same.
No.
Eating out is not the same. Even hanging out with your friends is not the same. I remember we went to the video arcade and the guy was right up our ass the whole time we were there. Like, what do you mean we can't stand up and drink? We have to wear a mask? Like, none of this makes sense. So we have to,
especially because the bar is there to make money.
Exactly. So if you're standing up, we have to wear a mask. We can't drink. Only when we sit down we can take off the mask and drink. Like, what? That defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
Of drinking. Is it not? Like,
especially at a video game bar.
Yes. And you can't all sit in the same booth because then you say there's too many of us and there's contact tracing. It's like, fuck, just burn this. I don't want to set up house parties and that's all I want, man. I don't get-togethers and that's it. So it's interesting that the police have kind of taken a stance back because I don't think they're really enforcing these mandates either. They're just like whatever.
No, which I think is like the right approach.
Yeah.
Where I think the individual, the Canadian individual, has like a strong sense of like duty already right off the bat. Mm-hmm. Like everywhere I go, the whole like vaccine checking thing is like pretty intense.
Yeah.
And I don't see any bylaw officers going there like cracking the whip.
No.
So it's just like these individuals take it upon themselves to like be serious about this. And like I know the way I am.
Yeah.
And if I was in that position, I wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I know that about myself.
Yeah.
So like every time I see it, I'm just like, wow.
Your gym experience was the most baffling to me because you go so often.
Dude.
And for them to ask
6 days a week, they look.
Every day they ask, they see you every day.
And they know how stupid it is.
Yeah.
So like it's always the same like 3 girls and like they're lovely. Mm-hmm. And they know me and I know them and like I walk in and they're like, hey, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Good. And then like I whip it out.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep.
And that's one of those things that they could be held liable if they don't do that. But the thing is, again, no one's checking.
No one's checking.
No one's checking. So it's like...
But it's a liability culture too, you know? Like, where it's like these poor employees are there and they're just like being told that if they don't do this, they're going to lose their job.
Yeah.
And that's not fucking fair.
No.
And then the businesses are like, well, if we don't tell them that, then like somebody could come in here and shut us down.
Yeah.
And then the witch hunt early on when it came to these businesses, remember?
Yeah.
It was like these people, man, like, what the fuck? There was like a witch hunt.
Yo, snitching has become the new currency.
And like, it's like not even snitching like go and tell somebody quietly. It's like, blast.
Hear ye, hear ye. Look at this person right here, shame him, hit him with a stone. That's exactly what it's like. And that's the reason why people feel this what's it called, man? They have this urge to check all these things, and no one has to crack the whip about it. They just do it because they know that they're on the good squad. They're on the right side of history, right? And that's
they have the power of the thousands behind them.
Yeah,
with the megaphones.
Yeah, the loud talkers.
Julian literally was like, like just trying to come to the bar that much because like you're at risk of just like getting us canceled.
Yeah,
and I was like, fair enough.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be upset at that. That's truth.
Yeah.
Like it's only a matter of like somebody coming in and just like me making a silly joke or like having a conversation with somebody about something that I just like personally don't agree with.
Mm-hmm. It goes south real quick.
Yeah.
Skirt, rewind.
Yeah, but
shut you down.
Like you were saying about community, like it's like I think at the Pony I find it so interesting where like
that's another one.
People find their like the spot becomes like such a vibrant part of their life. Mm-hmm. And like I find that amazing because I'm so not like that.
You are just with your friends.
Yeah, I get. Yeah,
you're very much like that with your friends.
Yeah,
because I've never been in any friend group that's like, yo, come over. I just made some pasta, or I made a nice salad. Come on, check out this cheese out. I'm like, just come and drink and eat. And you're prompt with it. If you say 6 o'clock, you guys are all there eating at 6 o'clock. What I'm used to is like, you tell my friends 6 o'clock, people are straggling in all times of the day. I come there at 6:15. You guys already sat down. There's only the scraps left. I'm like, shit.
That's me though, just being fucking anal. Because in Argentina, it's the same way.
Yeah.
Where like you tell people it comes for 7, and then 8:30, 9, and it drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Like when I go down there, like I go to the fish market.
Yeah.
And like I like getting this big fish. It's like this like big local fish that's like fucking huge. and like you cook it on the grill, like literally butterfly it, like, and it feeds like 25 people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, tell all my family, I'm like, yeah, guys, come. The fish will be ready for like 9.
Yeah.
It will be ready for 9. So like at 9, that fish will be ready to eat.
Yeah.
If you eat it at 9:30, that fish is fucking overdone or cold.
Yeah.
And I just spent 6 hours on this. So
at least you can use
come at 9.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
But to your point, you were saying about community. Like, you're not really like that, even though you are. What was your point on that?
Oh, that like, you know, people go to the Pony, and like Julian was saying, he was like, yeah, we're gonna have like a Christmas thing or a New Year's thing, and he's like, well, mostly it's for the locals that just come regularly to just come say hi.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I just like, I'm so detached from that.
Yeah.
Where like,
well, your commute kind of sucks, but keep going.
yeah, also true.
Yeah.
But like even at the gym, like I go every day.
Yeah.
And like, I love the people. They're so kind.
Yeah.
But like my relationship starts and ends there.
Which is strange though, because you meet certain people. Like your barber for Christmas last year. Your barber comes to your house, and he's cutting a lot of hair.
That guy's a good guy though.
That's what I mean, man. Sometimes you just vibe with your dog walker.
Yeah,
Both of them.
yeah.
I was, like Dave came over and been.
I was thinking about about my barber the other day. I haven't gotten my hair cut by
that dude.
By anybody.
Oh really?
It's been like Elise like using the machine.
Yeah.
And like the whole process of like having to find a new barber stresses me the fuck out.
Oh, you now you know.
Yeah, and I've never had a barber.
Yeah.
And then I found this guy who like it just vibed. Mm-hmm. I went in there one time and like I like never picked any. It was just like I was like, can somebody cut my hair? And then he was like, yeah, I'm available. So I sit down, and this guy literally said 2 words to me the entire time. I was like, I fucking love this guy.
That's so different.
It's my guy.
You told me that story before. I'm like, bro, that's not even the experience of a black barbershop. Listen, one of Maria's friends, he goes to this black barbershop where they live so often, and he's begging them for a pool table because generally black barbershops are hangouts.
Yeah.
I've gone there and just sat and chilled and talked to Kevin, Kevin was my barber for 14 years.
Wow.
He basically saw me go into high school, graduate high school, go to college, go to BC, come back.
That's crazy.
All he's experienced life with me. So he's my friend now. Like I could call him if I wanted to. But they bought a pool table because Tristan comes there so often. So they have a pool table at the shop now. And he comes there more frequently and he brings people with him. And it's like, it's the hangout spot. When you said that, I'm like, damn, man, like, that's not my experience at all. Like, even when I got poached, I was working at Scotiabank, and Duhan came in, that's the guy's name, the Jamaican dude, and he's doing a deposit, and dressed really sharply. And I always like to look at the account, and I just decide, like, what this person does for a living.
Yeah.
But he starts talking to me, he's like, where do you get your haircut? And when a black dude asks you where you get your haircut, it's like, it's almost like your rite of passage to tell him a good spot to get his haircut where you have the best experience you can ever have. So I told him where I go in Oshawa to get my haircut.
You go all the way to Oshawa?
Back then. Maria cuts my hair now. But yeah, I told him, and he's like, oh man, you should come to my shop. I'm a barber too. And his shop was literally the plaza right behind.
Yeah.
I was in Ajax at the time. And I went there and I started going there. And then we were built a rapport. Yeah. And then the other barbers, the guys handing me mixtapes. Go to my DJ set, come to my birthday party, I'm having a cookout. I just opened a new salon with my wife. Come through, celebrate our. You know, that's a community too.
Yeah.
You know, but it's so seldom. You don't see that very frequently, man. Even just the subtleties of manners. You notice a lot of the time, people don't even like. I drive every day. I drive 4:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock every day, and then I'm done for the day. And you even see within that times, I'm very conscientious driver of what's going on around me. So I'll let people in, I'll do whatever, because they got to go somewhere. There's no point in being an asshole. But it's very seldom that you get a thank you. But I learned a long time ago, you don't do things expecting a thank you. You do it because it's the right thing to do. But it just goes to show mentality, right? People usually regularly wouldn't do that in Muskoka. When I lived in Muskoka, that wasn't like that. You get thank yous from everybody, unless they're racist. But you get thank yous from everybody. Even in British Columbia, I live in Burnaby, same thing. Is people are very welcoming and open. And I don't know if that's a sign of the times or if that's just how it's always been and I never knew it.
It's a bit of a cold culture. I mean, like, I say that, but like in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, like,
cool as well.
Dude, like, you think some stranger's gonna say thank you to you?
Yeah.
No, fuck you. They look at you like, don't rob me.
Yeah.
Like, literally, the apprehension of people just for anybody that even, you know, the variety of skin colors that we live in here, where like you have everything.
Yeah.
In Argentina, it's like a little bit more like
Caucasian.
Yeah. And like there was a story about Michael Essien and Higuain at Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And when Higuain, he was like a 19-year-old kid, went to Real Madrid. They were in training session, and he kept calling Essien Negro. He was like, Negro, pass. And Essien was like, who the fuck is this little bitch? And Higuain thought nothing of it. Yeah. Because he grew up where like he was a white guy, like very kind of like European white guy. And in Argentina, the range of what people call black is not like a black guy. Yeah. It's like more Latin looking, like darker skin tone. Yeah. Which is like, so the association with calling somebody black has nothing to do with like the negative connotations that we're used to here. In Argentina, it's like literally... It's like calling, hey guy. Yeah, hey guy. Yeah, like my cousin has a friend group and they all have like the stupidest fucking nicknames. And the guy that is slightly darker than the rest is a negro. Yeah. And like, we're talking a range of difference that... Like just he just tans a little bit darker. Yeah. And he's in the group, and every group has a negative. Every group has a fat guy. Yeah. Every group has like a tall guy. Like it's like these stupid nicknames that everybody thinks are original, and every friend group has literally the same ones.
It's funny that you say this because when Chris went to Spain, he's telling me that he went there for acting, and he was just walking down the street, and he saw a black dude there, and right a passage when you see a black dude, you heal.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. And like, I love that.
It's like you have this whole shared experience of all your history, all your strife, and everything that's happened to your life, and within the culture and the race. And the guy looked at Chris like,
"Who the fuck are you?
What's wrong with you? I don't know you." But that's the difference. Like North America,
right?
Eastern Europe or Western Europe is very, very different, right? Like the experiences are all varied, even though they've had their form of whatever they've had.
Yeah, totally.
It's very different from what you've had, what we've had here, and that's just cultural. Because the same thing happened with Cavani when he went to United. Right. The exact same thing, and it's like, well, I mean, that's cultural. Like at one point, it was culturally acceptable to call people gay. Yeah. It's fucked up as it is. You don't even think about the connotation that you're saying it. But it's that actual connotation you're saying it.
Well, like, we grew up at a time where, like, with all my friends, calling somebody gay had nothing to do with their sexual preference at all. It had nothing. It just became like a slang term for someone that just did something that you just disagreed with.
But that's it. See,
totally.
It's the same thing.
Totally.
It's even worse.
As a kid, you don't
think that.
It's not up, and that's what it's like. If I were to just like my buddy's doing something stupid, when I was like 10 years old, I'd be like, yeah, you're being gay. Yeah. I'm not going, yeah, that guy is going to fall in love with a man one day and be happy. Yeah. I'm going like, yeah, my buddy's being an idiot, and that's the word that I choose to describe him being an idiot, and I have absolutely no association with that word and the fact that word also means that it's a homosexual person. Yeah. And I totally understand the need to just like modify the language towards something more like open. Yeah. But that's what slang is. Yeah, yeah. Slang eventually will be replaced by something else, and maybe at the beginning, like, have you seen the South Park episode on the word faggot?
No, I haven't. I've never watched an episode of South Park. I've seen the movie. The movie was
really?
It's very crass for me, man. I don't know. I was used to highbrow comedy. I watched The Simpsons all these years. I'm like,
no, I like
this is very well written. Yeah. And South Park is very well written too. But I'm like,
South Park has such bothers me so much. Yeah, you gotta look beyond the characters, obviously. But the episode is like about the word, and like that word apparently, right, has had a long history that now it's being used to describe like. Or used to be more so a homosexual. Before it used to be described as cigarette. Like, it's been a word that has been like used for a prolonged period of time. And in the South Park episode, the kids use it to describe people that drive Harley Davidsons. And like, they do not understand that the word can have another connotation. To their mind, like, that's all it means. And then the school teacher, Mr. Garrison, who's gay, gets upset because the kids are taking their word.
A calamity of errors.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's so funny. And like,
you can see that. I can see the humor in that.
I just like I can't help but find the humor in like literally everything.
Yeah.
Like, something that if it really upsets me, I find it the funniest.
Yeah.
Because like what is it about that thing that just like struck a real deep chord? Like I want to look deep into myself
And why that?
and be like, why did that upset me? Why did that upset me so fucking much?
Yeah.
And can I make a joke out of it? Because otherwise, like, what the hell's the point?
You can sit there and be upset about it.
Yeah.
You're the only one that's feeling any kind
Exactly.
of negative feelings towards it. They don't care. They go about living their day.
Yeah, absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
It's never. You only hurt yourself when you get upset about things.
Yeah.
Let it dwell and fester. That's funny because even like when you say like fag is a cigarette, even that if you boil it down to its core, you're sucking on a cigarette. It could be looked upon as sucking a shots.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right? It's like the same connotation. It still boils down to that core, right?
Yeah.
But that's the way language has progressed. Even like we were talking about before about, bars. Like my lifetime, I've been to bars where cell phones weren't popular. There was no cell phones. You were rich when you had a cell phone. When you were smoking bars still at the time. And then I've seen it now progress. So I wondered myself, and I've asked this question to a lot of people, and it's not really a question, it's more of a statement or observation. Like, what did we do before there was cell phones? Like, and generally everyone says, oh, you just go and smoke. But you could smoke inside. So what did you do? like how would you interact?
Have you ever gone like a prolonged period of time without your phone?
Yes. And it's heaven sent. I went a month without it.
Yeah.
In January, like before I moved to Edmonton, I didn't have to turn it off for a month. And it was so freeing. It was ridiculously freeing. You feel no burdens because you feel naked when you don't have it. It's almost like an appendage.
Yeah, but then you break away from that.
Yeah.
So I've done 2 terms.
Yeah.
The first one, I had just come back from Australia. I was like 25, and I lost my bar at a bar just being a fucking drunk idiot.
Yeah.
And
what's bar to bar?
What's that?
You said bar to bar?
No, just at a bar. I
okay.
was at like beer market.
Yeah.
I just lost it, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna get a new one.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go without a phone.
Free ball it.
And I think it was like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Without a phone, it was incredible. So like, I eventually got one because Elise was like just going nuts.
Yeah.
So she's like, she used to have to call my friends.
Yeah.
Like she's afraid to call you.
Yeah.
Being like,
Is you
Steph, are you a Steph?
Yeah.
No, I think he's with Tom. You call Tom. It's like, no, I think he's with Chub.
Meanwhile, you're right there. We're all in the same room. Gotcha.
And then in Mexico, when I went this year, I got my phone stolen.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like 3 weeks without a phone.
Yeah.
It was fucking amazing.
It is.
It was the best. It was like, it's so nice. Like you don't realize, because you think it cuts your anxiety. You know when you're like at a bar or you're waiting for somebody. Like I was waiting for you to pick me up, and then I was like on the side of the road, like scrolling Reddit.
Yeah.
I'm not absorbing any content. I'm like literally looking at headlines. My brain is just mush.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like me passing the time.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, it's like the opposite. Like, I'm just consuming. I'm like becoming more anxious. I'm becoming more nervous, and I can't help but do it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you don't have it, you don't do it.
No.
And then you're just like waiting, and then like you're waiting for 5 minutes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to wait 5-10 minutes without doing something.
I think I got the idea from you, but I have a report that comes to me weekly. Tells me how much screen time I have.
Yeah.
Time I have. And it's very mind-boggling.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Like, they said, like, I spent 8 hours a day on my computer. I don't have a clerical job. I don't use my computer for work.
Crazy, I know.
You know what I mean? It's like, why are you on it so often? And you think, this is a lesson that I got from you, is that you dropped nuggets to me throughout our friendship, but you don't even know.
Even a broken clock, right?
You took me out. You were at Aroma and you were studying. And this is when you lived back at it's called
Euclid?
No, the first one. The one by me.
Oriole,
yes. And you were studying, and I came by, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be here for a couple more hours. I tried to carve out, I think it was 2 hours or 3 hours time of doing good, solid work with no distractions, and then I'll fuck off and do whatever I want for the rest of the day. So often, most people don't do that. They cut off distractions and like just go somewhere, like almost the same thing as the gym. You and I are both people that face this with Kay. We can't stay in the house and work out. No. We have to be outside and get our mind situated somewhere that's completely immersed in that culture, whatever it is. So to see you like just like straight carving out 3 hours of good work time, and then doing what you want. I'm like, I like that. Like, I want to add that to what I do.
Yeah.
Because it's effective, and you see that. The first episode we talked about here is like the school system and how it trains you to be a worker, and they structure the day as if you were working a work day. But so much of those days, especially now, you're finding that they're so empty. It's all busy work. It's not actual work. Like, there's so much dilly-dallying that happens.
Well, school taught you that. That's the problem. Like, the structure of school is like you get these kids and you're training them to essentially take over some like industrial job, and the industrial job starts at 8, finishes at like 4.
Mm-hmm.
So you're training these kids from the time they're like 5 years old to the time they graduate when they're like 17 to just like do 8 to 5.
Yeah.
It's not about what they learn. I mean, what they learn, certain things are like important, but like the most important part is that structure, that 8 to 5 structure. But we don't like. I don't want to say we don't live that way, but like people tend to be living that way less.
Yes.
And
no, those jobs are gone.
Yeah, but I mean, like some still have it,
Yeah.
which is like ridiculous. Where it's like, it should be like driven by results. Like, what do you care whether I spent 8 hours doing it or 3? Like, what's it to you?
It gets completed. It gets completed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is it to you? Like, well, you don't get to control me.
Yeah.
Control me based on the outcome. Don't control me based on the way you want it
done. Yeah.
Like, if it doesn't work, fine.
It might not even be, is you might do it exactly tailored towards the way they want it done. But it's almost like a sour grapes feeling. It's like, well, I can't do that. How come he's able to do that type of thing? You know what I mean? Even working abroad. My mom, when she's working for one of the popular banks here, she went to Jamaica. And we have that same bank in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And she's like, is it okay if I just bring a VPN and work from home? And they're like, no, it's the security issues. And it's like, I get it, but the bank is there. It's like...
And then COVID happens and all of a sudden it's like,
it's okay now.
It's okay.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, I truly believe it's sour grapes. It's like, well, I can't do that. Like, why should you?
Yeah, totally.
That's just basically how bad people think, bad mind people. What's what we call them in Jamaica. It's really weird. It's a weird thing. And then it's always perplexed me. I've always looked at, it's a book I read called the 80-20 Principle, which is the Peruvian's Law. And that was something I read after I saw you doing that. But it's true. 20% of all input makes 80% of all output. It's been tried and true. It's been proven. So why are we working these days? It don't make any sense.
Like in high school, I was like, I used to just think I was like the master of just getting 80%.
Yeah. And
then everybody was like, yeah, but you could get 90. And I was like, yeah, but I spent like 3 hours on this. And if I were to get a 90, I would have to spend 15 hours on this. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And like, that's like, when I meet with like Julian and Matt the Pony and like they're talking about their day, and I'm like, to my mind, if you guys can do this job 1 hour for just being here 1 hour a day, that means you're doing your job extremely well.
Yeah.
If you need to be here 10 hours a day, it means you're doing your job really poorly.
Yeah.
Like there's some jobs like if you're making coffee, like you have to physically be there making coffee.
Yeah.
But you know, if your job is just to make sure the cafe is up and running and making money, you don't have to be the person making coffee.
No.
Probably the least effective way of spending your time. So like, be smart about this. At the end of the day, we're here. This place is just here to make money.
Yeah.
Like you can pretend that it's here to build community and blah blah blah, which is great.
Yeah.
It builds longevity to make money for longer.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's just here to make money.
Yeah.
And like, you know, here today, gone tomorrow, and like if people, you know, shed a tear for about 3 minutes and then like move on.
Microwave society.
Yeah,
bro.
it's true.
Nothing lasts anymore, man. It's a thing of the past. It's just too much information.
So it was like, you know, there's a diner in the East End called OK. It's like Queen, like Leslieville.
Mm-hmm.
Old style Greek diner.
Yeah.
Like one of the very, very few left.
Yeah.
Like husband, wife, still running it. Like he's still manning the grill. Like she's seating people.
Yeah.
Like, there's something about that of just like somebody going in every day and doing the same job for like 40 years that just blows my brain away.
Yeah. Good or bad?
Both, good and bad. Mm-hmm. Like the bad is that like I feel like I judge because I'm like, oh, like it can't be a hard job. Mm-hmm. And the good is because the dedication to the task is so, it's all of it.
Yeah, it's admirable, man.
It's honorable. Yeah, exactly. That's like a great word.
Yeah.
I do feel that. I see it, and I'm like, in a way, I'm like envious because like I don't think I could ever do it.
Yeah.
And you see them, and you're like, I think this dude's happy.
Yeah, definitely. It also the ownership portion of it is really big. It's like, this is mine.
Yes.
You know, I remember the first 4 years living in my apartment, but myself. I've lived abroad many times, but I've never lived by myself. And coming home from the bar, I just come home and vocally walk into the living room and be either smoking and looking around like, this is my place. And I'd walk around the place a couple times and say that.
I love that.
To myself. Because like, it's never been a thing. I was offered to come move in with 2 good friends.
Yeah.
And it would have been $600 less. I'm like, nah, I can't do it, man. That $600 pays for my peace of mind. I don't want to wash your dirty dishes and have hair in the bottom of the. I've done all that before.
Yeah.
So once you reach, I rarely like to take steps backwards because it's going to propel me forwards.
Yeah.
And when I do take steps backwards, it's so offensive to me. It like offends me at my core.
Yeah.
It's like someone just slapped me with a glove backhanded me or something. Like, I just do not like it. But another thing we talked about, September 2017 on the way to Sam's Cottage, and we were talking about time versus money, and I never viewed anything that see where my brain goes when I think of my friends. I never thought of life that way. When you said just think of that car. I don't remember what car it was. Like, how much is that? 40, 80,000, whatever the case is. That person had to work this amount of hours, or has to work this amount of hours to be able to afford that very car. That's fucking crazy. To think that you have to put in so much of your life into this one thing in order to own this piece of property.
The Turkish lira devalued over the past couple weeks, like a lot. Like I don't know, a lot. Like I'm just gonna make it up. Like 40%, whatever.
Yeah.
And there was like a study done. I think it was like The Economist, where they grabbed normal, Western goods and equated to the number of hours somebody would have to work based on certain positions in Turkey before and after the devaluation. And it was like, it's just sad.
Yeah.
So you're like, somebody would have to work 2.4 days to afford like a Hershey's chocolate bar. Something stupid like that.
Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. You think people over the world, some people live even worse than that.
Yeah.
It's...
But like Turkey's a pretty like established society.
It's a freaking tourist destination.
Yeah. And it's like, wow, man, like, fuck.
What causes that? What causes the currency to drop like that?
In Turkey, I don't know exactly what happened, but like probably the government was just like meddling with it for too long.
Yeah.
And then like something happened externally where they couldn't do it anymore. Probably had like a bunch of debt.
That happened to the Greeks too, right? In terms of the debt and not paying taxes, right?
Yeah, well, with the Greeks, they're stronger than the euro.
Okay.
So like the euro has like a central bank, kind of like the U.S.
Yeah.
They keep it separate.
Yeah.
But like a lot of these like corrupt countries, there's no separation between the central bank and the person in charge.
Yeah.
So like think about this. Like think about I'm the Turkish Erdogan guy, and I tell you that I want to borrow money, and I'm like, I want to borrow 100 million Turkish lira, and you're like, okay, fine, you lend me 100,000 Turkish lira.
Yeah.
Like that's the denomination of the debt.
Yeah.
So then I have to pay that back. But imagine I devalue my dollar, so I print out more bills.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I can pay that debt back quicker. But it has this like huge trickle down effect.
Well, the value is still the value, even though there's more money printed.
Exactly. But then that's like a lot of the countries, like when they use debt, they use different denominations for that debt.
Yeah.
Because for the Turkish lira, then this motherfucker can just devalue the dollar 2 to 1.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden his debt is worth half.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck with all this money that is worth half as much. So then they use like different denominations in order to just like pay back the debt. But yeah, I don't know exactly what happened with Turkey, but like their dollar devalued like crazy.
Yeah, it's a massive drop off.
And the working class there is just like crushed.
Yeah.
Because the wages don't adjust that quickly.
Yeah.
Like you don't day to day, like month over month make 40% more.
Mm-hmm.
But the cost of goods does change from one day to the other.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, your standard of living dropped 40%.
Yeah, which is huge, especially with kids.
Yeah.
And you're spending most of your time working to make this.
Already struggling.
That's half the amount it was before.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I went to Jamaica 4 years ago, we drove around, my parents took us to the eastern part, the western part of the country, and just traveling all through the mountains and seeing all these train tracks from when settlers from Spain came there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, like, we have a very vibrant community here. Like, why can't we just, as a whole, just start cleaning up some of these railroads and use the railroad system for transportation, because it's such a mountainous range, and then it's gonna be much more efficient.
Of course.
And he's like, man, the task is politicians, and manpower, and everything works a little slower there. It's very, very much like Central America or South America type of thing. And he's like, it's a very tall task, especially with it being brought up by China now.
And the corruption. So like in Argentina, it's hilarious. So in Argentina, for the main transport of goods, they don't use trains, they use trucks on roads. So it's horribly inefficient.
Yeah.
So, but the reason that happens is because the trucker union in Argentina has so much power that if a politician would come in and be like, no, we want to transition from like trucks to trains, which is like faster, safer, more efficient, these guys would just be like,
nope.
Well, you do that, we're going to shut down the transport in the country for the next month. And dude, it's been run like a mafia for like 30 years, 40 years.
That's how it was to get Uber into BC. The taxi commission or whatever they're called said, no, we don't want this here. But I tell you one thing, I went back there after going to school there 10 years prior. I think it was 12 years prior at the time, my first time back. We called a cab from the airport and no one came. And this is like an hour and a half later. So then we just ended up taking the train into the downtown core.
Right. And
mind you, like 12 years ago, the downtown core was very vibrant. My school was brand new, it was around Hastings, dilapidated, moved out. The downtown core is completely, it's overrun with homeless people and junkies. I've never in my life seen people shoot up like that right in front of me. Even when I went to school there, and mind you, we were early in the morning, right? Usually early in the morning, that's what you see. It's a weekend, right? You don't see people going to work and whatnot, but it just painted a very different picture of what I romanticize in my brain. Places are so much better, personally for me, after I leave them than when I'm actually there. Because I romanticize my time there. The only place that was different was like Netherlands. Going to Amsterdam, it was just as great while I was there as when I left. Because I'd never seen anything like that with the bar experience. Nobody uses the cell phones in the bar. I didn't see a cell phone from a person who was domiciled to Amsterdam there. No one.
That's awesome.
Didn't check it. And we went to 3 bars. 2 bars and 1 charcuterie board bar pub. No, the only people on their phones were us. And
how are they going to check COVID vaccine passport?
It was before. It was way I didn't check any of the skin. But it was refreshing, man. Like, even when we're taking the canal on a nice day, it's like, people are just talking, enjoying the smoking, relaxing. The smoking might have a huge impact on that. People are so much more mellow. But the cell phone culture here is fucking bonkers. I'm guilty of it too. I lost my cell phone last week, and the only thing I can think about is this. I'll give you the story behind it. Is how I'm going to place Words with Friends and Star Wars on my phone. That's my thought process. I didn't want to admit that to myself, but that was the truth. So listen to this. I left a party, at least for a Christmas party on Saturday. We took an Uber. I never take Ubers. They give me extreme anxiety. We get out. I thought I was sober enough to drive. I was not. So we get home, and I'm coming out of the car, and I hear a clunk, and I'm like, Marie, you hear something? And she's like, she's drunk too. No, I didn't hear anything. Okay, cool. Go upstairs, go to bed. Wake up in the morning. I'm getting ready to go and work. There's no phone. So I try to retrace my steps. Go outside, there's no phone there. Check everywhere. Check up the whole apartment, no phone.
Fuck.
I go to her sister's house. I had to go see Chris brought me over there to look in their house and check the cushions and whatnot. Nothing's there. So we go back home and we do find my phone. And it says the phone is at...
Oh, it's still on?
Yeah, it was at 2%. It was at university and college. or they're doing on the east side, and where they're building that monument or that building now. But it's the firefighters' monuments there, and it's not moving. And I set the alarm. It was going off for 5 minutes. It's not moving. It's still staying there. So I'm like, fuck it. Took a machete, put it under my seat, drove there. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking somebody up if they have stole my phone. I go over there. And
you go with a machete of all things.
It says weapon of choice. So I go over there and I'm looking for it, and I'm like, how am I gonna be able to find this? Because I have my laptop there, but it's not. There's no hotspot.
Yeah,
I don't have a phone. So I can see that it's there, but I can't see where it is.
Yeah.
So I'm cutting my losses down. I'm like, fuck, I gotta upgrade to an iPhone anyways because the podcast, we need the camera function. So I just sat down, started smoking, and just kind of like sunk into the feeling that I'm not gonna have a phone for a bit. And I won't be able to work.
Or it's gonna
dependent
come to you.
Oh my God. As you said, come to you, I heard a knock at the door. No one knocks at my door. I open the door. It's a woman that lives two doors down. She's like, oh, did you lose your phone recently? And she works works for the city. So that's why it was at university and college. She's like, I saw the phone and I recognized you and your girlfriend. So here's your phone.
No way.
She took it on her way to work, kept it with her while she was working there, and then came back and gave it to me.
Legend.
And I'm like, that restores my faith in humanity, and it's like an unbelievable stroke of luck and fortune. Like,
that's happened to me quite a few times. Yeah. I'm terrible with my phone.
Yeah.
Like I really do have a love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah.
Because I hate the fact that I love it.
Yeah.
And like my cousin, we went to Europe, and this motherfucker, dude, like 16 hours a day on his phone, and I was like calling him out nonstop. And that's the part I hate, and I definitely do a version of that, probably not as extreme.
Yeah.
But every time I lose it, I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah.
It comes back to me, otherwise I'm just gonna go a couple weeks without it. One time I lost it, but my buddy Mitch's wedding, I got fucked.
Yeah.
I was so wasted. At least had to take me home at 11. Left it in the car, in the Uber. And the poor guy, like, probably had to just deal, So the guy was like, fuck this fucking guy. And I think he probably just tossed it when he realized it was there. He's like, I'm not dealing with this shit.
Yeah. I just put in the mailbox. Fucking dick.
But honestly, I was probably just a drunk before.
Yeah.
So I don't, like, no hate on him.
Yeah.
So I, like, the next day I'm like, go find my phone. And it's like in the middle of like the West End. We were nowhere near there. I was like, what the fuck? So I pin it, and I'm like, whatever. I get an email, because it was like, if lost, contact Stefano Brancato@gmail. And I'm like, get an email, be like, hey, like, I found your phone. I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. Can I go pick it up? And they're like, yeah, let's meet somewhere in the West End.
Yeah.
And so it's happened to me a couple times, and every time I'm like, are you a whiskey drinker? And the answer is like, yeah. Or they're like, no, I prefer wine. So I think with her, I got her a nice bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So I got a nice bottle of wine, went down there. She's like, I was walking my dog, and we heard like the pinning, and the dog went straight forward, and it was in a bush.
You did throw it there, or did?
And the dog was like, what the hell's that? And she's like, grabbed it, and it was my phone. And then she saw my contact information, and she emailed me.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Because I find so many people would just take that and like, I had a guy's phone for a month. Well, I think he left it in the Uber purposely because he's going through divorce. But same thing, like, it's most people would just wipe the phone and keep it. You know what I mean? I kept that guy's phone for a month and a half.
But like the IMEI, is it? Like the individual code for the phone.
Yeah.
You gotta like properly know how to wipe it, because if you don't know how to wipe it properly, the person can still find it.
Yeah. Or shut it down, right?
Or shut it down, yeah. That's the thing with like these, like the more the phones get like a little bit more modern, and like they become truly an individual extension of like one person.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hard to like say. You're like, I didn't send that tweet. It was like, nobody. That tweet was sent from this phone in this location
at this time.
And then we're gonna be honest, you were in the toilet.
We have you on camera.
Yeah, it's so true.
We saw when you left and we saw when you went in. You were definitely on the toilet. Oh man, I want to thank you for coming out today, man. I did this one a little differently than the way I do regular ones, because I don't think you are very receptive to the introduction, the grandiose introduction, and this is one of my best friends, this is Stefano.
I feel like I would have been. We just started talking about something stupid,
and it went on. I like that though because you get more candid. And if somebody's like you, like I don't want to come across as I'm interviewing you because I don't want to interview you. With you, what I love is, like I said, this whole process is like I love when you drop little nuggets that I can use later on. And then, like I said, you probably didn't know those two things that stay with me for the amount of time they stay with me. But I tell almost everyone that comes on here is like most of the people that I hang around really closely. I try to take some of their qualities that I find admirable and suck it into mine and kind of assimilate to make myself better to reach my zenith, right? So that's one of the things I do frequently with you. But yeah, that's why I did it like this. I didn't do the whole hoopla at the beginning, which works for some people, but you have to know the people you're hanging on as well, right?
I think Maria's gonna hate editing this.
I'm editing this.
Oh, thank God, because otherwise she'd be like, yo, Steph's an idiot.
Can you imagine going through all that film footage and like, I have to listen to this guy talk over and over and over again just to get it seamless?
I think like even you shouldn't be subjected to having to re-listen to
whatever, man. I listened to one of my 2016, Adams and I did a podcast at my drafting table. The guy, he's huge now, Jack, dreadlocks, he looks like a baby. His face is so skinny, and he's got like a little beanie on, and I'm like, yo, I sent it to him, like, look at this, man, this is us. And it was crazy to see like what we look like that all those years ago, doing it for the first time. And we started the podcast on my phone. It was just us in my living room with the phone there, and the three of us at the time, we just talked about reviewing music albums. So it was, I don't even know why I thought of it. It's probably Joe Rogan. It's like I have a love-hate relationship with that. But yeah, it just started, and this whole concept just came about, and it's like I want to go back into that. People were asking. So I'm like, yeah, definitely. I'm going to do that and see if I can get people with certain expertise on. And then next week I have Dom on. And then the following week I have my boy Jamie on, he knows a lot about the drug industry. So I'm like, I want to come here and like break it down with you. And he has a big announcement he's moving. So I'm like, let me get him on, man. Let's do this. So this whole process for me has been very therapeutic. Just like be able to decompress with my friends and chill and have my brother over here doing the camera thing. So I appreciate you coming out, brother.
Of course, I love it.
Doing the thing with me. Not even a second thought. We talked about this in passing as we were talking about NFTs. And you're like, yeah, absolutely. And it's like, it's so much your personality. Even when I describe you to other people, it's like, yeah, my friend Steph is like the Lasakis guy. He's just like, you might call him, he might be in Argentina, he might be in Australia, he might go to Russia for a week or a month or whatever the case is. He might go to England for a weekend just to watch a football match, and he's always so gung-ho to do things. The curiosity level that you have it's unparalleled. I don't know anybody who's as curious as you. But I'll leave it at that, man. I don't want to blow your head up too much because we already both have big heads. So
True.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Peppy.
Peace! See you next week, bitches!
I think it's too bad that